The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome live from the Hawkeye State on LSRTV and iRacing Live. We continue into the final stage of regular season action tonight for the United Sim Racing Truck Series here from the Iowa Speedway as we get set for round number 20 on the 2016 campaign. Tonight, the USR Last Chance for the Chase 200 brings us around for 175 miles at the 7/8 Mile Speedway, and we're happy to have you topside with us as we finalize the grid over the next 10 weeks back here on LSRTV. But again, happy to have you topside with us, myself, Evan Prisoko, alongside this weekend with Kelly Dolan and always Cisco Scaramouche downstairs in the production trailer, pushing the buttons this evening. Kelly, was a fun track, and it's a track that you do see a lot more truck and Xfinity action in than the Cup cars because you don't see the Cup cars come here on the road. It is a relatively small track, a little tenacious too at 7/8 of a mile in length, but 200 laps start to finish tonight means that you can't just attack this one like you would if we're racing at Bristol. You can't go at each other, you can't be rocking each other. You guys are going to have to cover over the course of the night, and again, as we mentioned, the biggest thing in is that grid of 12.
Yeah, and as you said, these drivers can't really go as hard because it is still 175 miles on the night, and this track has a bit more space than Bristol, I'd say. It's a bit wider and I believe a slightly bit longer, so there's going to be a little more track surface for these drivers to work with, but that doesn't mean we're going to have a bunch of people laying back. As you said, it's the last chance for these guys to qualify, so you're going to see some of these guys that are right on the bubble pushing as hard as they can to either break their way into the chase or solidify their place in the chase, because as you mentioned, 12 drivers tonight will be moving on to the chase next week.
The chase for the championship going to make up the next 10 rounds of this 2016 championship. But again, what you see is of Chicago, New Hampshire, and Dover a cut. Then we will go race it for round number 2. Charlotte, Kansas, and Talladega cut once again. Martinsville, Texas, and Phoenix. And then, of course, the winner-take-all showdown in Homestead of Miami, Florida, later on down the year. Not that the USR Truck Series guys have not had that many races so far in 2016, Kelly. 20 regular season races as opposed to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, which follows this exact similar format with this, which has just 26. But the chase is 1/3 of the whole year.
Yeah, it is quite a bit of a long chase for how much this league actually is. It's the entire third makes up quite a bit, but still, there's been a lot of races, and Jamie Walker has been able to pull out quite a lead in that point series. I think he could have just taken tonight off. He's got over 12th place, 289 points, so I think he's still going to be pushing hard. As we see now at the qualifying times, he's sitting up near the front.
Yeah, he could have easily taken the night off, and I think he probably would have been fine with the next 10 races not resetting the points every 3 weeks from this point on. But he's going to have to really get back up on the wheel. Not that he has been taking it easy over the last couple of weeks, but the challenge will once again rise to the occasion starting next week when the chase for the championship gets underway. Qualifying session just about behind us, and as we get set to go racing under the lights tonight in Newton, Iowa, we go trackside for tonight's opening ceremonies down with Jaden Berkey for the performance of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we walked, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
And as always, a big thanks for JD Berge for getting tonight underway. Qualified behind us. It's time to get on-track action started. We go trackside, taking a look at tonight's USR starting lineup presented by B&C Lawn and Landscaping. Pole position for Jamie Walker once again. Talking about the stats for the driver, the number 17 Chevrolet. His 9th pole on 2016 with a 22.80. Going to put him on the inside of the front row, starting in the number 1 position. Outside of the front row, another
Wouldn't have some experience in the short track, so watch for him to be moving up to the front. Starting on this outside, the number 6 of Tommy Ryan.
and Cody Gibson in the number 7 Aces Chevrolet. Outside of that row, he'll roll from 6th.
Row number 4 sees Christopher Herlow on the inside, and on the outside, the 91 of Steve Gottschalk.
Scott Formosa going to roll in the number 9 position. Michael Atkins Jr. rounds out your top 10 to the outside of row number 5. He's also the last truck to take a time in qualifying.
These next drivers decided to not qualify and got their positions randomly assigned to them, but starting in row 6, 11th place goes to James Thorndike, 12th the number 12 of Greg Mall.
Ashton Crowder will start tonight in the lucky number 13 starting position. Michael Waiters in 14th, make up row number 7.
In row number 8, all by himself, the 88 of Jeff Ryan. He's going to have a lot of trucks in front of him, but look to see that truck making some moves to try to work his way towards the front and see if he can maybe break his way into this chase.
So USR starting lineup from Iowa. Let's talk a little bit about this Iowa Speedway. 7/8 of a mile located in Newton, Iowa. Opened not that long ago, back in 2005. It is technically, if you go 7/8 of a mile, is 0.87 to 5 miles around. 4 turns, progressive banking, 12 degrees on the bottom, 14 degrees on the top. Also 10 degrees of banking on the front straightaway and 4 on the backstretch. But I think outside of the numbers, as we get set to go green as the field paces in turn number 2, Kelly, it's just a fun track all around, and especially if your truck's good. So it looks like Jamie Walker's going to have a fun night. Not a lot of trucks on the racetrack, so it looks like this race could be one that goes green for quite a ways and could have strategy be a big dictating factor.
I'm sure the three of us in the booth here would prefer this race to go green the entire time. It's a short night for us, but it could make some interesting strategy calls. Maybe people will short pit and take some fewer tires, but we'll have to see how this race plays out.
The pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down and away, and we get set to rock and roll. Green flag in air from Iowa underway in the USR. Last chance for the Chase 200. Top 3 single file to turn number 1. Walker going to lead the way, followed by Aaron Bennett, Ricky Howell Jr. in third. 1, 2, 3, they were on the grid. 1, 2, 3, they run at a quarter number 2.
That was a great start by Jamie Walker. He launched as soon as he saw that pace car move away, but look at all these different lines people are taking. Some of them going right up against the wall, some people right against that yellow line, and I think it's something we're going to see throughout the night. People are going to be experimenting with different lines, and with this progressive banking, there's benefits to each part. We see now Jamie Walker fighting with Aaron Bennett, who seems to be losing out. Ricky Howell Jr. getting a bit better run off that corner, and now side by side, Ricky Howell again on the inside, or going down to the inside. He's got a great run for Ricky Howell. Look at him fly through past those 2 other trucks to take the lead of the line.
Talk about making some aggressive moves, you can definitely do that here at the Iowa Speedway, and that move obviously going to move him into the number 1 position. That 2 Toyota Tundra was running in Advantage though, the side-by-side with the race leader, so check those guys up in front of him, and he executed the move. Looking back and trying to get back into that position is Aaron Bennett. Again, he's the one that made the move to battle for the race lead, and he did complete the pass on the 17 to Jamie Walker as you go on board with the number 33 Chevrolet. Made the pass. Unfortunately, when he made the pass, he lost that number 1 spot, so he stays in P2 through all of this. Howell a lot higher up the racetrack in 3 and 4. That's something that you'll see really often as the night goes on. It's a different line that these drivers like to take compared to 1 and 2 versus 3 and 4. The 33 trying to get creative and find a way through. This time they take the bottom at this end of the racetrack.
And Ricky Howell can't quite relax yet. He may have the position, but he still has to defend it. Aaron Bennett is right on his tail and looking just for his opportunity to pass, trying to see if he can find a better line off the corner than Ricky Howell. But oh, looks like we got a truck spinning off of turn number 4 into the grass. No caution as of yet, but it seems like Scott Formosa just lost it coming off of 4 and spun through the tri-oval.
He'll hang on to it. No caution flag comes out. Got a little bit loose off of that 4th turn, and it broke sideways actually very quickly. Snapped on him. Did a good job of reeling that Bojangles Chevrolet Silverado back in. The truck went about 45 degrees sideways until he was able to hang back onto it. And now another issue for the 80. He's back on track and spun out again by himself. That time in turn 2, and that time gets into the fence and gets damage from it. So 2 issues for Scott Formosa's Chevrolet in about 7/8 of a mile.
Well, what probably happened with him is after that first slide, he probably overheated his tires, and that just eliminates so much grip until those things cool down. So coming off of 2, he just had no grip to work with and spun it right off the bat. So that's unfortunate for him, and he's got a bit of damage on that truck. That's probably going to make a big... Oh, it looks like the 7 just got into the rear end of the 6 coming off that corner. Tommy Ryan. Now Tommy Ryan's spinning around. He's lost it. Yellow flag is out.
Keeps it in the gas so the truck doesn't spin down, and everybody's able to get to the inside of the racetrack and get around him. But Tommy Ryan, you saw a good look coming off of the corner, got out of shape on the outside of the racetrack. Not sure if he got up into the fence. It looked like that might have been the case down to turn 3, and it did. Just got into the wall, got stuck up on the fence, and as he tried to wrestle it off of that safer barrier, spun down the racetrack, did a good job of keeping it in the gas. We'll take a second look at a minute to keep that truck up there. The trucks behind him were easily able to move to the inside. You take a second look there. So first caution flag out on the night, just 9 laps in of 200 on the night. And Tommy Ryan Chevrolet not all that badly damaged. I'm sure he'll be down for service as well. Full-fledged here for your race leaders.
That's because it's a short track. It does work the tires very hard. They're nearly turning for 100% of this track, especially with how banked and how much steering angle there is on that tri-oval. It's almost like a whole nother turn. So these tires get extremely warm, extremely worn down. So we'll not surprised to see everyone pitting this early.
Race leaders into the top couple of positions. Those pit stalls located on the inside. Really a turn number 1, a 2-tire call for the 2 Howell. No challenge off of the pit lane. Next driver off third out of the pit lane. Gibson was 4th, and he's also 4th out. Steve Gottschalk per exchange 5th and 6th position. But your race leader, interesting decision to go with 2 tires. Howell must obviously like that Toyota Tundra as it's running on the racetrack right now, Kelly, but if because if you're up front, you got a good truck and you don't really want to make any sort of a strategy call that would take that away from you. I think most people would rather, outside of, maybe a scenario call could win the race for you at this point. Race leader probably just comes in, gets 4 tires all the time. I would have expected maybe a Walker or a Gibson to go with the 2-tire call to get the clean air, see if that works for him. So Ricky Howell Jr., I think, would have let off pit road if he took 4 anyways. He decides to go with 2. He'll continue to lead the race.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think he was also expecting Jamie Walker or Cody Gibson to take 2 tires, and he was trying to defend that position. So I see where he's coming from on this, and I do agree with you. If he'd taken 4, since everyone else took 4, he probably would have let off that pit road. He had a great stop, but he was just it seems to have just been kind of playing it safe, so we'll have to see if it'll really affect him. He was still running some great laps during there, so it was only, I believe, 9 laps that they actually ran, so I don't think his tires are going to be that badly worn. I don't think the 2-tire call is going to affect him that much, but it may give a slight advantage to Aaron Bennett, but I don't know if it's going to be that much of a difference to really change this race all that much.
Lights go out on top of the pace car. We will have 12 laps behind us when we drop the American Ethanol green flag once again. Not a whole lot of changing for position up at the front of the field in this one. The top 6 drivers on the racetrack right now, all drivers that started inside of the top 8. Biggest mover, Ashton Crowder, who rolled off from 13th. He's up to P7 at the moment. It'll put him to the inside of row number 4. We'll see if he's able to do anything on this restart to continue advancing forward. And then obviously what we've been talking about under the yellow, Howell Jr. decides to go with just 2 tires. Everybody else with 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. We will see how that also plays into a factor, especially if we do see a long green flag stretch here. We only saw 9 laps of green flag action in that first stint. The pace car get a duck off pit side. Howell in control. They head into the restart box. He gets on the gas pedal. Green flag back in the air from Iowa. Good jump. That's not the issue. He'll have a 3-car length advantage to turn number 1 side by side for second.
Jamie Walker had a great jump alongside of Aaron Bennett, and now they're still side by side, even up. Bennett getting a bit of a better run off that corner. So does Cody Gibson. He's now side by side with Jamie Walker as Bennett clears him, but Jamie still holding strong in that inside line. However, that outside line is getting a much better run. He's losing a lot of ground. I'm sure he really wants to make his way to that outside.
All about trying to navigate the track, and the 87 really close to the left rear that time. Herlo goes back to the inside in a big run as he almost diamonds the corner. 3 wide in this battle for position, 2 wide in front of us here. Great race early on at Iowa, and it looked like it was basically on a silver platter for the 87, but Walker fights back through the middle 3 wide to get both positions.
This is why I love this track. It is so wide that you saw that they were 3 wide, and it looked like you could probably stick another truck through there. It can produce some great, exciting racings. We also saw the 7 just in front of him trying to get around Aaron Bennett. Cody Gibson now just really looking for any way he can get around that truck as Ricky Howell Jr. starting to walk away from these guys a little.
Yeah, that's the goal. Clean air, and again, 2 tires. If it's equally as good, if not as good as 4 tires, because we saw Bennett all over him. We'll have to hold that note for a moment. Problems back in the pack. Caution back out for a second time. It's the 4C Print Shop Chevrolet and Michael Atkins Jr.
We'll look at a replay right now, and I'll have to actually take a second look at that one myself. It looks like he's just coming off of turn number 2, and yeah, he just lost it. Oh, and got a little bit of help around from the 12. That was actually a pretty good shot from Greg Mall, and I see some decent damage on the back of that 18. I have to take a look at that front end of that 12. Hit that truck really hard, and that's not something you want to have happen. You break up that front end, and you can start blocking up your air intake. That can cause your engine to overheat and really end your night.
Yeah, exactly. The 18 back-end damage should not be an issue getting fixed. Greg Mall, on the other hand, the front-end damage is something that I would think would be much more concerning, and there is visible left front damage. Top 2 don't want pit service. Ricky Howell Jr., Aaron Bennett stay out. Cody Gibson, going to bring everybody in from behind, 3rd on back.
I guess the front 2 felt that their tires are good enough after these that short stint that they don't need any more service. But Cody Gibson now is leading the parade down pit road, and he'll be the first one to get into his box out of these that front group in a very short box. So Jamie Walker has an advantage of such a short little jump once he's finished. We see the left side of the 7 now coming up, so that he will be taking 4 tires, and trying to see if they can get as much of a grip advantage over these front 2 as they can. I think there was someone taking 2 tires up in front of them. Paul Madison going from 14th, and think he's now up to 3rd after just taking 2.
So the plot thickens with the strategy. Right before we saw the issue there, Kelly, the point I was going to make was that we actually saw Aaron Bennett all over the back of the 2 machine in front of him on that first stint, obviously when they were all on equal tires. So I was surprised to see Howell get out and actually begin to pull away. And again, Bennett was side by side off of the restart, so it put him at a little bit of a disadvantage. But he wasn't all over the 2 like he was before, and in theory, he had better tires. So based on that, and again, it's just a small sample portion, if you will, now we'll even find out more, because you're going to have the guy up front on 2 tires. The guy up behind him in the number 2 position on 4 old tires, and a bunch of guys on a little bit fresher tires to really see what that strategy is going to be. Again, I still think the biggest thing is going to be that we're not going to go 8-9 laps at a time over the course of the next 181 laps this time by. There is going to be a long green flag stretch. When you hit, be crucial, but so far, it looks like that 2 tires is a viable option.
I think the major contributing factor is how much of a jump Ricky Howell Jr. had on that start. He kind of faked out the rest of the field by not going right off the bat. You saw the guys behind him kind of jump a bit and then hang back. And the second they hung back, he floored it, and he got a good jump of a few car lengths. And because he was running such equal lap times at 33, that gap didn't change all that much. But Ricky Howell, yeah, as you said, did pull away a little, so it's going to be interesting to watch. He might just have some good skills here and be able to really make a difference no matter what strategy he chooses.
Lights go back off on top of the pace car. Another quick cycle of caution flag service. This one, as the one prior to, knocked 10 laps off of the board. We are going to put now 20 laps overall behind us, and this restart going to leave us still with 180 laps to go in tonight's USR Last Chance for the Chase 200. Howell inside of the front row, Aaron Bennett to the outside, and then Cody Gibson, who brought everybody down pit road, the first driver on fresh tires after he came in for the second time under the second caution flag on the night, and once again took 4 fresh sticker tires. Pace car back down and away. We'll see what Howell does this time. Small hesitation to the restart zone. Control truck it'll lead us across the start finish on green flag back in the air to turn number 1. Good advantage for Howell, about a car length and some change into the corner. Gibson though will challenge for second.
Gibson, great dive to the inside. Jamie Walker trying to follow him. Can't quite do what Gibson does, but Gibson is around Aaron Bennett. Aaron Bennett down to P3. Now we see the 91 of Steve Gottschalk. He's looking to the inside. As Jamie Walker now looking to the inside of Aaron Bennett. But look at the 7 on those fresh tires, flying off of turn number 4 right up to the side of Ricky Howell Jr. It looks like these tires are going to make a difference as he hangs on the inside, getting a much better launch, and now getting a nose ahead of him. Still not quite clear of him. Side by side they go into turn number 3, and now he's going to clear. Cody Gibson is going to be your new leader, but here comes the 2 on the counterattack, diving to the inside, seeing if he can make a move now, but I don't think he's going to have as much of an advantage on the inside as the 7 did.
Good news is he goes to the inside at 1 and 2, which is where you want to be on the inside. Outside going to be the place in 3 and 4. The 2 machine wasn't able to keep it locked down, and Howell going to jump back up in line. So Cody Gibson with 20 lap fresher left side tires and about 10 lap fresher right side tires. The winning combination for him, the Aces Chevrolet, quickly goes from 3rd to 1st on the fresh tire call. Howell and Bennett, the 2 drivers who stayed out, still run 2-3. Here comes Jamie Walker, though, the driver that started on pole position. Lost it very quickly, though, into this race. Looking to march back up to the front of the field, and while everybody else takes a preferred lane topside, he really mimics all the way down on that yellow line in 3 and 4. Can't really get an advantage that time. Still 0.4 of a second back at the top spot.
And we see 7 running a little bit wide. Ricky Howell Jr. now getting right up close to Cody Gibson, seeing if that little bit of a mistake almost costing him a position, but those fresh tires are really helping him. I think Ricky might be maybe rethinking what he did earlier. Jamie Walker not getting a good run off that corner, leaving the door open for Christopher Hurlow, who's now going to take the 4th spot and to check up a little.
Still, all 15 trucks who took the green flag tonight for Newton, Iowa are on the racetrack and on the lead lap. 2 incidents early on, in fact 3, one of which didn't necessarily bring it a caution flag. We saw issues earlier on in this one, once at a turn number 4 and then once at a turn number 2 for the same truck. That one didn't trigger a yellow, but everybody's still on track. These trucks can take a little bit of a hit and keep on ticking. You just don't want to push that limit. Again, the big thing we noted when we started, it is 200 laps for Iowa, 173 of which this time by have yet to be complete. You need to have a truck in one piece. So Jamie Walker tried to make the move for 3rd position on the inside. Didn't work. He ended up losing a spot. Hurlow now to P4. We'll see if he can do anything with the better tires.
Yeah, as you said earlier, these trucks can take a bit of a beating. What's nice about these... Oh, as we've seen the 33, sorry, I'll interrupt myself here. Aaron Bennett is now going to try to make a move on Ricky Howell, and he's got a good amount of speed through that inside and gets that position. He's not going to be... Oh, blocks him a little bit. Howell gives him a shove, too pleased that he got his run blocked by the 33, but Aaron Bennett now in second place, but at the same time, Cody Gibson is starting to run away 0.6 of a second up on the 33.
Trying to grow a gap. It is the biggest gap in between P1 and P2 that we've seen on the night. Side by side behind, Walker once again tries to get around Hurlo. The 87 knows exactly what he's doing, and that is not giving up the preferred position. He forces the Mountain Dew Chevrolet to try to take. Tried third and went back to fifth, and now he tried for fourth. He may go back to P6 because here comes Ashton Crowder on the outside in the Race Insulin Chevrolet, who has the preferred lane topside. Walker still in front by a nose that time by, but it looks like the 27 has the momentum.
Yeah, Jamie Walker can't be too happy right now. He's definitely going in the wrong direction as he now has been cleared by the 27. He's definitely not going the right way. Which is surprising. He was very strong both in practice and qualifying. He was your pole sitter and the second fastest in practice. So to see him that far back in the field is honestly caught me off guard. I thought we were going to see him up front all night. Now he's about almost midway down that pack. So we'll have to see if he can maybe give his head a shake out those bad thoughts and get things right back on track. But these moves he's been trying to make have been costing him quite a bit.
Give and take. That's all a part of racing inside of now the opening 40 laps here from Iowa. We have to see maybe what the 17th machine will do. Maybe just stay in line and see, over the course of a long run, if those guys start to fall back, or even if the 27 of Ashton Crowder, who I noted at the caution flag was moving up 13th position on the grid to 7th, I believe, at that point. Now inside the top 5, he's the biggest mover, up 8 positions. Maybe stay behind Tim, and then once he gets up to Christopher Hurlo and maybe goes to the inside, do the same move to him that he did to you.
But now we see the 87 at the 2. That's a great. So those tires are definitely starting to show their age on that 2 truck. So Ricky Howell probably going to be hoping for a caution to come out, and as Ashton Crowder now looking for another position on again the 2 truck of Ricky Howell Jr. The fresher tires are really making a difference, which is a bit surprising. I didn't think they'd been worn down all that much and they'd make that much of a difference, but it's definitely shown that he's dropped from first. Now he's going to be nearly down to 5th coming off this corner. No, still able to hold out, and here comes Jamie Walker, as you just said. Sit and wait for someone else to make the move, then go around them and pull off what they had done to you, and it looks like he's going to do just that.
Door to door with the 17 and the 27. Not sure if he has the broadcast on inside of the truck, but he went for it and he took away that preferred lane and maybe a little bit of a dose of his own medicine sideways off the corner. A good job by Crowder to reel that thing back in, but now he's back to P6 and Jamie Walker back into 5th. And now for the 27, he needs to get up in front of Gottschalk before he gets pinned down on the inside, and he does that at a turn 2.
As we've been talking, Cody Gibson had such a great lead earlier, but that lead has been cut in half nearly by Aaron Bennett. He's slowly clawing his way back up there, so hopefully in a couple laps we might see these two go back at it. But looking back in the field, though, there's 4 tenths to separate them, then 1 on the inside, and I think this might cost them. Oh no, he's actually got a better run off the corner, which is surprising. Jamie Walker's now pushing him, seeing if he can get past as well. Ricky Howell Jr. is clear of the 87 of Hurlo, and Hurlo's now defending against Jamie Walker, who's going to try to make a move on the inside. Hopefully this one will actually work, and not quite, but he's learned his mistakes from earlier, quickly jumped in front of the 27, who gives him a little bump after that.
These guys really aren't getting separated. Cody Gibson, 3 tenths of a second in front of Aaron Bennett. I'm really impressed how he's been doing after staying out on the older tires under this most recent cycle of pit service. He's only 1/10 now back in second. Those two, though, are the ones that are getting away. They're over 2 seconds in front of third on back, which is where you see this big line of trucks, and these guys can't get away from each other. Don't expect to find separation. It's a small track. It is relatively wide, but there's only a select couple of lanes in the corners that everybody wants to ride, and it's going to be a night that you're do it back to you. You got to be patient and condense this one down really into segments. Again, noted after 2 quick early, and I think now we're seeing that green flag atmosphere.
Yeah, I said these guys aren't going to be shoving each other all over the track, but wait, oh, I say that, the 17 just gets turned by the 27. He gets put right around in turn number 1. Ashton Crowder giving a shot to the 17 and just dumping him in turn number 1.
He'll apologize on the radio, but JB Walker's going to remember that one for the course of the race. The caution flag is out. Great job, though, by Crowder and then when it got Chalk, who got thrusted into the quarter after he got hit by the 80 of Scott Formosa, should not nail Walker in the door. If they had hit the side of that truck, it would have done a lot more damage than what it did. It's going to drop Jamie Walker to the back. He and Ashton Crowder, again, had been in and around each other for the last 20 laps. You take a second look now at the LSRTV replay. Things seem rather calm as they discuss the accident over the radio. Again, obviously, the at-fault truck there, the 27 Ashton Crowder, apologetic over the radio. This does slow things down, though, just shy of quarter distance.
And we're going to see every truck this time go down pit road. I would be very surprised if anyone stays out, but Cody Gibson leads the parade down pit, and we'll have to see if anyone's going to take 2 tires. I don't think that's going to happen. I think everyone's going to take 4. I'm sure Ricky Howell Jr. is definitely going to be taking 4 tires. He was surprisingly still able to hold on to 3rd place with those worn Goodyear Eagles, so I'll be excited to see what he can do once he has 4 fresh ones.
Race leaders are in, and this time everybody in agreement that pit service is necessary, and I would not be surprised if we say all 4 tires this time in. Gibson in, left side's also going to be complete. It was the first driver in. It'll be the first driver out with that strategy call, and it looks like everybody will take the safe route and go 4 tires and fuel under the caution. 44 laps complete for Newton, Iowa on the Iowa Speedway. You're watching the United Sim Racing Truck Series on LSRTV and iRacing Live. As we get set for the restart, we'll step aside for just a brief moment. Come back in a second.
Once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Wait for it. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good. Be a lion.
Lights quickly back off on top of the American Childhood Cancer Organization. Ford Mustang GT pace car were doubled up as we get set for another restart from Iowa Speedway. It is the final race on the regular season for the USR Truck Series here on LSR TV. After tonight, the grid of 12 for the chase for the championship will be set. Still a checkered flag awaits, though, before we get to that point, and Cody Gibson wants it. Green flag back in the air to turn number 1. He'll get clear. Nice move by Howell.
The speed those two have off the corner compared to the rest of the field, this field has been completely shaken up by that last caution. You see everyone trying to jockey for get themselves sorted into that preferred line that we've been lead so far, 2/10 right off the bat. Ricky Howell Jr. just trying to hold on to him, see if he can maybe reel back into him. He's starting to open up a gap of his own over Christopher Hurlow. He's just about nearly the same gap between these two. As we look back in the field, Tommy Ryan now is trying to make some moves. He's coming up onto Scott Formosa, who's worked his way back up the field after having those two early incidents, but can't quite get that run. But now they've lost a bit of speed checking up instead of going for a move himself and thinking better of it.
Gotta pace yourself, right? And we will continue to say it as we close in on a quarter distance for Iowa. 49 laps of the 200 going to be complete this time. And Cody Gibson, who we know has the speed, but really didn't show incredible numbers in the practice session, was fourth best in practice, qualified to P6, but in race trim, the Aces Chevrolet, making the right calls early on, is out and running. And has passed the 200 laps led mark for the total season with the laps that he has led so far here tonight from the Iowa Speedway. That puts him, I believe, second most out of all the drivers in this championship. And a big reason why that is second most. You get a couple of guys inside the 150s, 160s. Jamie Walker has over an 80 in his own right. Look at the difference. That's going to be something fun to talk about when we go to the championship. But Gibson in search of what would be a second win on the season, and he took off quickly, 6/10 in front.
I think he was sandbagging that practice and qualifying. Like, this is such a huge difference. He was Ricky Howell Jr. Last time we were saying that it might have been the tires, but he's kind of shown us that we were wrong here. He doesn't care if he's got the same tires as the guy behind him. He's going to go as fast as he can and really launch ahead of these guys. So hopefully it's not Ricky Howell now that's sandbagging and trying to save his tires, and we'll have to see if Cody Gibson really is this fast compared to the rest of the field. This is pretty interesting to watch right now. He's 6/10 up and starting to make that grow. I'm going to take a quick look at his lap times here. Last lap he was running a 23:765, while behind him Ricky Howell, 23:763. So Howell's starting to now get back into his groove maybe, and maybe we'll start reeling him back in. We saw this last stint that Cody Gibson pulled ahead of the 33 of Aaron Bennett, and Aaron Bennett slowly made his way back up to him. So we'll have to see if he can keep his momentum and keep his rhythm on this racetrack and put down these fast laps.
Slowly scooted away now, got to the 6/10, but rather quickly. Ricky Howell Jr. has kind of balanced things out in that number 2 spot. Hurlo looked like he was going to be able to challenge for third. A rough go at it 2 laps ago, I believe. Dropped him back to now 1.2 seconds off of the top spot. And once again, though, you still have this logjam mid-pack, side by side with Michael Atkins Jr. and Greg Mall. How about a little bit more 3 wide for good measure? Up the bottom, Aaron Bennett going to slide through on the inside, and he'll get 2 spots with 1 swing of the bat. The 18, though, objects crossover at a turn 2, and Atkins once again will challenge. All of this in a battle for 7th.
That was a great move by the 33, but it really cost him a lot of speed coming off that corner. But now he's got that preferred line on turn number 4. He's got a better run. So does the 12 of Greg Mall. Now he's going to try to make a move, but the 18 now getting a little loose, looks like, into turn number 1, and that's going to cost him a bit of speed, give that advantage back to the 12, who's now able to get a bit of a better launch and will have that better line on the outside. I think he's going to be able to make this happen here, unless the 18 does something crazy, and no, it looks like the 12 will get a bit of a better run off the corner, and he is cleared. So the 18 of Michael Atkins Jr., after gaining a few spots, has now dropped back. I think he lost 2 there, and Aaron Bennett running away, trying to get himself back up to that front little group.
Do not count out the 27 of Ashton Crowder or the 17 of Jamie Walker. They're running right now 10 and 11, but again, we're both up inside of 5 seconds of the race leader earlier when they were involved in the contact. As we mentioned, Crowder into the back of the 17. Both trucks with a round caution flag came out. They dropped to the back of the pack. It is tough to make up time at Iowa. Normally, somebody goes to the back of the pack that was battling for the race lead earlier. They don't have much of an issue picking off the first couple of spots. It's not that deep of a field at just 15 trucks deep. So when you start to get to those top 15, top 10 positions, normally it gets harder and harder to pass. These guys aren't making it easy on these two. The 17, the 27, either I think want this one to go green all the way, or they might have to force a little bit of strategy out of themselves to make up for that lost time. They right now can't figure out what to do with Atkins, who he himself is trying to figure out what to do with Greg Mall.
Yeah, I think these two drivers are just being held up a little bit by these guys in front of them. They've definitely shown that they've got the speed tonight. Jamie Walker, as we said, second fastest practice. and he's your pole sitter. He's got some speed, but these guys in front of him don't quite have it. But the 18 now getting a great run off the corner. The 12 made a bit of a mistake, so Greg Mall's going to lose a spot to Michael Atkins Jr. Atkins Jr. will now slide into your 8th position, and now Jamie Walker diving to the inside, going down into turn number 1, will launch right ahead of the 12 of Greg Mall, who will now look to try to counterattack coming off of turn number 2, and he's going to look to the inside.
Takes a peek, tries to see if the move is going to happen, and he'll get to the door. Side by side, the 6 tied off of 4, and he'll have to check up, and I think the 80 machine of Scott Formosa saw him because he moved that truck up the hill, and that was tight. Bennett almost, I think, got tight also because he didn't immediately go to the inside. I think he was dealing with very similar conditions in his own. 3 is doing. The top side is the place to be. It's going to have the run off the corner, but the 33 used the bottom. The momentum down the front stretch. He now has a preferred lane to turn 1. That battle.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen a few people do it tonight. They'll dive to the inside to get that position. Then before the person on the high side can use their speed advantage, they'll quickly throw themselves in front of them and block and just cut off that run. And we've seen a few people, they'll try to cross them up and go to the inside. And we've seen a few people also just give them a shot in the rear end. Just kind of show them that they're not too pleased and that they might remember that later in the race. I think, look, by the end of tonight, we'll have a few people that might hold a few grudges. I think these the dying laps of this race are going to be interesting. And we see the 33 now getting a great run off of Scott Formosa. I think Formosa might have gotten on the wall there, really killed off a lot of his speed, but 33 now washing up the track, and Formosa right on his tail, but he can't really go anywhere with that run.
33 machine of Aaron Bennett going to the bottom, and again, it's identical banking, 1 and 2, 3 and 6 is the big reason why everybody in 3 and 4, you can see, I think it's the consensus, wants to be up top, and then in 1 and 2 you want to be on the bottom because obviously it's a lot tighter coming off of that second turn when you head to the straightaway as opposed to the front stretch here at the Iowa Speedway, which has that progressive left-hand bank. It's a D-shaped oval, not quite a tri-oval. The layout itself is much more similar to a smaller Michigan or an auto club, if you will. And that's why you see these guys up here, maybe 2 lanes off of the fence. One thing that I'm noticing is Aaron Bennett, as he tries to get through the field, who has put up impressive numbers so far, fastest in practice, and as we noted earlier on, started to the outside of the front row. He runs about half a lane higher in 1 and 2, and half a lane lower in 3 and 4 than that of the non-one of Steve Gottschalk in front of him, and it looks like it's letting him close the gap in a little bit by little bit.
And as we've been talking, I've completely missed this, but our leader is now Ricky Howell Jr. He did reel in Cody Gibson and now leads him by 0.3 of a second. So I guess Cody Gibson might have pushed those tires just a little too hard off the beginning. And I guess Ricky Howell does have that speed. He was 3rd fastest in practice and tied Aaron Bennett with his qualifying time of a 23.023. So they were both running some great lap times. That Ricky Howell Jr. is now your race leader, with the Cody Gibson just very, very slowly reeling that truck in. And but we also have Christopher Hurlow within a second of that leader, just quietly watching behind them.
70 laps now in, almost at halfway, and I'm not going, well, I guess now I've kind of brought it up. I was going to say, I'm not going to say we're getting into that green flag pit stop territory again, Kelly, because the last time I said that, I think it was like 10 seconds later. You saw contact, a caution flag come out. But once you hit that fuel number for the first time, then you'll really get a better idea. How many pit stops do we need to the end from that point? Is it 1 stop or 2 stops? And, you know, does that make 2 or 3 stops total? Then you start to get into the conversation, short pitting, and if the fuel number doesn't work out to, you say, you know, for example, if you got to go 40 laps and the car goes 20 laps each time on fuel, it's easy. But if you have, you know, something like you got 20 laps to go and you can go 15 laps on fuel, there's going to be a shorter stint. When we get a better idea of where we sit in this fuel strategy, that, I think, could be the opportunity for Jamie Walker and Ashton Crowder that I was talking about. They are making their way out, though. The key here is they're not losing that much time to Howell at the front of the field now. Gibson back to the number 2 spot. Jamie Walker is up to 8th. Ashton Crowder in 9th position. They are able to get around Greg Mall and James Thorndike. They close in on the back of Michael Atkins Jr. for P7, and they're still just 5 seconds back. They've lost 0.3 total, and now Walker going to give up the spot to the 27 of Crowder. Interesting move in turn 3.
Yeah, and we were talking about Aaron Bennett earlier, who's now run into some technical issues. He is now behind the wall and 4 laps down, so unfortunate issues for him, and something that's just out of his control. I guess maybe his internet went out or his computer crashed, but either way, one of our major players in this race has just dropped out, so unfortunate for him, but it's really going to shake up a little bit how this field's going to run.
Maybe Walker recognizing that the 27 was a little bit faster. It really didn't look like that because they were working up through the field together and at the same pace, and Crowder to the inside of the 18 tried it. I wouldn't be surprised if Crowder pulled over for the 17 because if you remember, Crowder is the one that drove into the back of the number 17 machine. So maybe if Ashton Crowder pulled over for Jamie Walker, it might have been a little bit of a sign of peace to apologize for the incident before. Jamie Walker really doesn't owe Ashton Crowder anything, considering the 27 is the reason that he's back there. You still see a little bit of the left ear damage on the Mountain Dew Chevrolet, but Walker, the diplomatic and the strategic route, if you will, drops back, and he's really starting to lose time. I was talking about how the key was he wasn't. He had only lost 0.3 at about 15 laps. He's lost 1.3 seconds in the last 5 laps.
And there are some people that just handle tire wear differently. There's some people that'll be much faster on worn tires than people that are on fresh, and it looks like Jamie Walker is just not quite in his position, in a good position with his setup to be fast on these worn tires, and it's seeming to cost him quite a bit, and he's now going to lose another position. James Thorndike looking to the inside now, coming down through the tri-oval if you'd call it front stretch, but now he's on the inside through turn number 1. As we've seen, that is the preferred line through that corner, and he's now clear of Jamie Walker, who's definitely having some troubles in that truck. I don't think he is very comfortable with how it's driving right now.
59 was able to get around him, and Jamie Walker is on pit road. 78 laps in, a little bit closer to those water barrels or sand barrels that I'm sure he would have liked to be. It is a little bit of a tight entry to pit road, but Jamie Walker is in and down pit road.
We're looking up in the field, the 27 now onto the inside of the fend against the 18, just lost a position to Atkins Jr., and now he's going to lose a position to Ashton Crowder. Crowder continues his charge up through the field, still trying to work his way back up into those front positions. He's now going to look at the 18 of Michael Atkins Jr. He's taking some glances there, trying to see if he's going to maybe test the line a bit of Michael Atkins Jr. and see if he can find where that truck is a bit weaker and make a move on him.
Walker going to now get back out onto the racetrack on the apron. He'll blend back up with just a little more than 120 laps to go. The disadvantage of this Iowa Speedway is, as you see, Cody Gibson now come down pit road, give up the number 2 spot. He's out with service complete at lap number 80. Ricky Howell Jr. will follow suit the next time around. And very clean entry down to the corner is, I think it's going to be okay for the most part, Kelly, because it looks like this is going to be a very quick cycle of green flag service. I thought that maybe Walker might have been an outlier coming in a couple laps too soon. But he went immediately to 1 lap down. And if you're not inside the top 5 or somebody who's double-digit seconds back to begin with, it's down just because it is such a short track.
Yeah, and here comes now, what was it? The 27 of Crowder. He's going to come down pit road. It seems a lot of people are not kind of afraid of these guys that went down earlier, undercutting that there's between the fresh tires and the old tires. So if you pit earlier, you will have maybe a couple more laps of being on those, a couple more faster laps while the other person stays out on those old tires. So when the cycle would finish, you might be ahead of them even without passing them on the track. You pass them while they're in pit road, so that'll give you a bit of advantage because it is a bit more difficult to pass on that track. So you'd be a bit slower because they have the fresher tires, but you'd be able to hold them up a bit better. So I think that's why this pit has happened. Is we just see the example there. The 17 of Jamie Walker is now ahead of the 27 of Ashton Crowder, even without being faster than him on the track. He was faster from pitting earlier and just kind of undercut him there.
Christopher Herlow in the number 87. The machine was not so quick to jump onto the bandwagon to come down for service. He is still out on the racetrack. 85 laps in now from Iowa, and 9/10 in front of Steve Gottschalk, Tommy Ryan, Scott Formosa, James Thorndike inside the top 5. Greg Mall, Michael Waiters, Paul Madison, drivers on the lead lap. So the people that were up front and leading this race, Cody Gibson in the number 9 spot, 1 lap down. Ricky Howell Jr. in the 10 spot, 1 lap down. And now 1 lap down. So getting back to that notion that that's the risk you take when you go with the short pitch strategy. I think that it is going to work out for them on the longer run. Again, the longer you stay out on track, the more time you lose in this cycle. So Christopher Herlo is your race leader. He ran a 24.8 the last time by, and Cody Gibson, who's 1 lap down, ran a 23.7. And by outpitting Howell by 1 lap, Gibson won 2, and now Gibson leans over Howell in 9th and 10th position. Once Herlo comes down, you have to accumulate. If he stays out 10 laps at a 1 second differential per lap, he's going to lose 10 seconds of time. So what those guys might be hoping for is that caution to come out, which is the exact opposite, obviously, of everybody who's already pitted, that they don't want to see.
Yeah, because those guys that have already pitted, they might have to pit again if they want to stay competitive. So these guys up front would come down pit road, get those fresh tires, and the guys back, but I don't know if that would then put them on those old tires, and now they'd be behind these earlier guys. So Christopher Herlo and all these other guys that are on the lead lap, they're waiting for them, they're waiting and they're praying and they're hoping that someone spins their truck around and gives them that yellow flag, and that would almost hand that race right to them, as we're just we're just heading on to our 90th lap out of 200 tonight.
So I was going to say that the cycle of service did not look like it was going to be one where a caution could be an issue, because everybody started to come down and now nobody is coming down. Which makes you wonder, talking about the fuel numbers, if these guys out on the racetrack right now, Herlo, Gottschalk, Ryan, Formosa, Thorndike, Mall, Waiters, and Madison, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, have a different idea on what the fuel call should be. Because again, you're starting to look at a fair amount of laps that they're staying out more. And they all came in under the last caution at the same time. This is not like what we saw in the opening 20 laps, where we saw people with a difference of about 10 to 15 laps from service inside of the top 3 after a couple of people stayed out, a couple of people decided to come down every time. Everybody made this stint and began this stint with an equal amount of Sunoco race fuel on board. So if you can stay out 12 extra laps, and you can do that every single time, then you look to 24 laps maybe after a second cycle, and 36 laps after a third cycle. Next thing you know, these guys might be trying to eliminate a stop completely.
Yeah, going 2 stops versus 3 stops is normally something you talk about on road courses, not something you talk about so much with NASCAR, but it's definitely seeming like these guys might be trying for that. We started this last stint on, lap 20, and now they're on lap 93, so these trucks definitely can last a long time on their fuel. But it seems the limiting factor for some of these guys are the tires. So some people are basing off the tires. Well, it seems another half the field is basing off the fuel. So we see Cody Gibson now coming up on Christopher Herlo to unlap himself. We'll just see just how much faster these fresh tires are compared to a truck that's lighter with less fuel, but much more worn tires.
See the 7 to Cody Gibson right there. The Aces Chevrolet works his way around your race leader, Christopher Herlo. That's the machine that is looking to take back over control of this race. And one thing that you talk about, maybe a quota, for example, you see the 7 to get around. He is now the first driver with service completed, I believe, Kelly, to unlap himself. So you got Howell, who's going to be coming up soon. Then you're going to see Walker and Crowder and Atkins all begin to close in on the back bumper of Christopher Herlo. Normally, when that race leader who stays out sees those guys who've already pitted unlapping themselves, is when he'll come down pit road. I mean, the 7s take it off. He's now making up time. I'll be fair, 23 seconds back at a second per lap of an advantage is going to take a while, but sometimes you do see drivers who make this strategy call, it doesn't work out, and they may eliminate a stop, but they come down pit road so laps into a run, and then 20 laps later is already coming in for the second time, and they're catching up. So Herlo's going to have to pit if he wants any tire advantage, because now he's really starting to lose time and trying to see how far Howell is off of the back bumper. The 2 machine, if following him right now down through turns number 3 and 4, it's not all that far away. He'll be able to get to him in the next lap or 2.
We're talking so much about pit strategy, and I'm probably the worst person to talk about this. I'm terrible at pits when it comes to race strategy, but now we're seeing the 2 of Ricky Howell coming up onto Christopher Herlo, and he's now going to unlap himself, albeit it seems like at a bit of a slower pace. We're starting. Oh, I'm getting all mixed up here. Cody Gibson is now down to 21 seconds back onto Christopher Hurlow, so he's cut that down by a couple seconds over these laps. So it's definitely something he have to keep track of, but a lot of these guys don't have a crew chief or a spotter to be sitting there doing all this fuel strategy for them. Oh, as we see the two getting loose off of turn number 4, nearly throwing that truck around, but just able to hold on to it.
These tires, for those who have yet to pit, are really starting to get worn down. And again, we kept talking about it early. This race is not going to be one that sees cautions and cautions and cautions. Christopher Hurlow hits lap number 100, comes down pit road. That he's going to be in for 4 tires in service. Steve Gottschalk will follow him directly down pit road from the number 2 spot. It looks like Ashton Crowder, a driver who begins to cycle back through things and around. Scott Formosa is the one that came in from directly behind in 3rd position. So to make the fuel number easy on it, the 87 of Christopher Hurlow comes in at lap number 100. The last time was number 44. He went 55 laps. He can do it on 1 additional stop. The drivers, if he hits that same number, that is, the drivers who had pitted before and are now going to start to cycle back to the race lead are still going to have to make more than 1 stop. Is that enough of a difference? I don't think so. I think fresh tires and speed around this very short track is more important.
Yeah, it seems to be that way, but Tommy Ryan has stayed out now. He's going even longer than Christopher Hurlow has, so it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of different strategies that are starting to form tonight. It's going to really be that main talking point of this event. It's we'll have to see how these are going to play out. It's not going to really show right off the bat. But it's going to show in the next few laps. As now see Jamie Walker, Ashton Crowder, they're now within 20 seconds. But Tommy Ryan now has decided to come down pit road.
Yep, so Tommy Ryan going to come in the number 6 Chevrolet down for service. And this is going to just about complete, I think, all the way through the service. Yeah, Paul Madison, I thought maybe the 15 Chevrolet had not come out yet. He is down pit road for service, and this should bring everything back to the status quo. And once the scoring updates the next time around, we'll take a look at the halfway break and really break down that fuel strategy. 1 stop versus 2 stops still to go. This all assuming that we stay under green flag racing conditions for the next 96 laps now. With that time by, Cody Gibson going to go back to the top of the board. So let's take a look at tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break presented by iRacing, the world's premier online racing game with professionally organized racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, the IMSA, and many more. Cody Gibson cycles through to the race lead. Ricky Howell Jr. is 4.8 seconds behind him, and Howell was your leader before this cycle of pit service began. Gibson outpitted him, short-pitted him by 1 or 2 laps, and that's how he ends up P1, and Howell now back down in Ashton Crowder climbing back up to the field, still 9.8 seconds back, though, in the number 3 position. Michael Atkins Jr. scored in 4th. Jamie Walker in the number 5 spot, your pole sitter, 11 seconds back. Also, a driver that needs to still make 2 stops to the end of this one. Behind him in the number 6 position, Chris Hurlow in the number 6 spot. Steve Gottschalk 7th, Scott Formosa 8th is the last driver on the lead lap.
After that, our first truck to be a lap down is Greg Mall sitting in 9th place. Tommy Ryan rounds out your top 10, just pitted, and he's running with some fairly fresh tires and looking at like he's got some good speed on them. In 11th, we have the 59 of James Thorndike. And 12th, Paul Madison. 13th is Michael Waters. 14th, Jeff Ryan. And 15th, with an unfortunate technical issue, is Aaron Bennett, 38 laps down behind the wall, and I believe his night is finished.
And that's a look top to bottom in your sim racing possibilities online. Visit iRacing.com to sign up today. You can use the LSRTV promo code by entering PR-2016 LSRTV when you register for a new iRacing membership, and you can get the late model free of charge along with the 14 other cars and as well 14 tracks that are going to be included in a first-time iRacing subscription, absolutely free. Again, that is PR-2016 LSRTV, and get the late model, again, free of charge on top of all that also comes with the first-time iRacing membership. So things calm. end. Which strategy is going to end up at victory lane? We'll continue to find out as the night goes on, but we no longer count up, we count down. 110 laps behind us, 90 laps to go from the Hawkeye State. Cody Gibson, your race leader, will take this opportunity to step aside for a brief moment. You're watching the 2016 United Sim Racing Truck Series on LSRTV and iRacing Live. Still more to come in the USR Last Chance for the Chase 200 on the other side.
For iRacing to get Le Mans is huge. I mean, this is a unique event, a unique track where, you know, half of the track is public road, so you can never test on it, you never get experience on it, and it's 8 miles in length, 4-minute lap time in a GT car, so even if you're here, that's only fit corner 15 times that day. The first section going through the Dunlop area is pretty unique. You know, it's got elevation change and off camber. Then you go down Mulsanne into the chicanes, and, you know, the straights are unbelievably long. It's a tricky track, and, you know, every year I've come here, being my 4th year, you learn something new every time.
We've wanted to add Le Mans to years, but really things only came together in the last week leading up to this race. So it was a real scramble to put everything together. The majority of Le Mans is public roads. So when they're preparing for the 24-hour race, it's really the only time that we can visit to laser scan and photograph the track so that we can recreate it in iRacing. We work closely with the ACO to get essentially exclusive access to the facility and everything that we needed to get the laser scanning and photographic reference that we need to create the track. We were very fortunate to be at Le Mans at the most important time of the year and gain that experience of being there. And we're going to really do the best we can to put that into our work and making sure that the Le Mans in iRacing is the best Le Mans, the most exciting and accurate recreation of the track possible.
Back live from the Iowa Speedway tonight on LSRTV and iRacing Live under the lights from Newton, Iowa. Cody Gibson, your race leader, as we stepped aside, came back onto pit road just 35 laps after he was last in for service, which might make you scratch your head a little bit when we talk about the strategy in this one. Lost the race lead last cycle of green flag service is because Gibson pitted before him. However, talking about 55 laps, the maximum, Kelly, we've seen, Cody Gibson just went 35 laps on that last stint, and we still have over 80 laps to go in this race. If he continues to hit the same numbers, not only when we stepped aside saying that he'd need at least 2 trips down pit road, by those numbers he'd come down pit road 3 additional times to the what would just be 1 time, assuming that we see the guys who played that second fuel card earlier on also go 55 laps. They would only have to come down pit road once. I don't think Ricky Howell Jr. wants to pit 3 more times. He wants to pit maybe at most twice more. The 2 machines still out on the racetrack. I don't think he's going to be able to get to lap 145, which would make it on the fuel number, but has to come down pit road 2 more times. So we'll see what the 2 machine does. But with that being said, I think now we're starting to see 3 strategies become a factor.
Yeah, there's quite a number of different strategies that are starting to form out tonight, so it's definitely really interesting. And we talked about Christopher Hurlow earlier, who stayed out for so long, and we were worried that he would get undercut so much with those staying on those old tires while everyone was on fresh tires. But once he pits, no, he's the one on fresh tires. When Cody Gibson came down pit road, he was, I think, only 10 seconds back on him, and now he's sitting 5 seconds back on Ricky Howell. So it's definitely interesting how these strategies are starting to shape up, and I don't think we're actually going to know who's going to win this race until the checkered flag flies, because it's the way these trucks are getting all shuffled around with these pit strategies. I, at this point, can't make the call of whose strategy is the best. And I think it's going to be very hard. Really, of all 3 different strategies,
And to be honest, I think that the drivers are going to start to lose track of the strategy that everybody else is playing. It was nice and easy early. Hey, look, one driver stayed out, or one driver took 2 tires. Now you got maybe 3 different active fuel strategies. You see the 7 machine to Cody Gibson. He fell a lap down, and we did note that the big difference, it sounds pretty cut and dry. If you can stop 1 time, or if you can stop 3 times, you want to stop once. But fresh tires are big at this Iowa Speedway. You see the Aces Chevrolet work his way around. He no longer a lap down, and he was on pit road again. He had a 5-second lead over Ricky Howell Jr. right now. Now he has a 24-second deficit in the number 8 position. But again, all those very short and frequent pit stops, while it may not look good on paper, may be the right call. So as much as I want to say, I'm not sure what the 7 machine is thinking, Cody Gibson seems to have a perfect idea of what he wants to do.
Yeah, this is all really interesting. I have no idea how anyone could keep track of what's going on inside these trucks. I don't know if anyone's really got any team members helping them out. I believe has someone up in the... So it's something that could distract someone. They could be sitting there thinking, oh, what am I going to do in this pit stop? Look down to adjust their settings, and now their truck's spun around in the wall. And it's surprising that we've had such a good long run, and it's actually fun to watch. It's been interesting to see this unfold. And normally, with oval racing, it's just quick sprints where we run for a bit, maybe we get a green flag stop, then a caution comes out. We've been running for I think over 80 laps now of green flag, and it's been a little while, and it's definitely allowed a lot of different strategies to unfold. So now I'm kind of hoping that we go green the entire time. Though now that I've said something, I'm sure yellow is going to come out.
It happened to me last time I said it, and I think the live spotter or somebody in their TeamSpeak channel with them acting as a crew chief and pushing the numbers and making sure they know what's going on with the other guys. If you don't, though, I think it is nearly impossible to figure out what everybody else is doing. So, Cody Gibson has an idea, I think, because he's the outlier. He's 21 seconds back. But somebody like a Hurlo, somebody like a Gottschalk or a Formosa may not necessarily know the strategy call that all those other drivers are making. And quite frankly, I think you might just have to ignore it at this point. And again, if there's 2 strategies, salvage a finishing position if you can catch it quick enough. I think there's too much going on right now on the racetrack, and it'd be funny to say that because you look and you say, what do you mean? Everybody's single file and spread apart. But there is a lot going on behind strategy. I think these guys almost have to block that out. You have your number, hit your number, and really sleep in the bed that you make and hope that it worked out for you.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say that. It's very distracting when you see someone coming up and passing you because they're on a different strategy, and you have to ignore that. And as a racer, you're sitting there going, I just lost a spot. I want that spot back. But you see these guys go by, and you have to just think, don't worry about it. They're not on your strategy. Ignore them. Go to my lap. Go to my pit window. But as I said, it's just hard to deal with. It's really now a bit of a mental game going on with these drivers.
8 drivers still on the lead lap. That seems to have hit the quota over the last, almost 80 laps plus of green flag action here tonight. Ricky Howell Jr. taking full advantage of this opportunity to lead a lot of laps. We did note with Jamie Walker running very close to Ashton Crowder earlier in this one. Again, they made contact. Crowder now half a track in front of him. Walker 12th, Crowder in the 10th position, almost half a lap in front. Both those drivers are 1 lap down. We noted that they were up front inside the top 5, got in an accident, and maybe they wanted a long green flag stretch to the end of this one. So we'll see if this is indeed what they wanted, if they can execute on that. Again, right now, it looks discouraging to be sitting 1 lap down. In the overall picture, they may feel a lot more confident than it looks at the moment.
Yeah, well, they're definitely seeing. We've seen that a lap is pretty much how much you on pit road. So while they may be sitting a lap down now, they've already pit. And these guys in front of them do have to take another trip down pit lane, maybe even 2. So it'll be interesting. So where they're sitting isn't really that far back. So they'll have to just wait to see these trucks roll around. But I think it'll be interesting to see the 17 and the 27 at the end of this race. I mean, if they're close together, we'll have to see if maybe Jamie Walker pays Ashton Crowder back for what happened earlier.
Yeah, and again, appreciated the contact and obviously apologetic over the radio about it. It's Christopher Herlo now. Moves to the inside over the much slower number 2 of Ricky Howell Jr. Makes the spot. Then on over to Steve Gottschalk, also in third. Going to make that move, and just like that, back 2 spots for the 2 of Howell Jr. Maybe again now. That's the point when you come down pit road. The 2 just is this the point that Ricky Howell Jr. wants to come down pit road. Again, he was on the very shorter end of the strategy calls earlier on in this one, but now only 7 laps away, Kelly, from the 55-lap fuel window. Again, that has not been what he's done tonight. Tonight he has favored tires over the long run. Maybe, though, he took an eye at the other strategy that we saw out of the couple of the earlier guys on around lap 80 and 90 when everybody first began to trickle down pit road, himself included, and everybody else stayed out. Maybe he said, okay, maybe that's a strategy I like. He could very well still come down pit road 2 times. If he comes down pit road 2 times over the next 60 laps, that'll be much more in line with what we've seen out of him. But if he can stretch it 6 additional laps, he can make it on that. Is going to bring you about 1.5 seconds slower than Cody Gibson, who keeps coming in for tires and seems to want to do that all night long. We'll have to keep an eye on him. And then also same thing with Herlo and Gottschalk. They're starting to get with that window also. Herlo and Gottschalk went from 2-3 to 1-2, but it looks like the Naughty 1 machine wants a chance up front.
Yeah, as you were talking about Ricky Howell, he was maybe what he was doing was he did that short pit because he thought there might be a caution coming out, but now that it's been shown that we are going on a he did think, all right, maybe we'll start playing the fuel window game instead of playing the tire game. And as we talked earlier, that about undercutting, but these guys, they'd pit in earlier, then they'd have those fresh tires right off the bat. But these guys that took that pit later, once they finally go down pit road, now they've got the fresher tires. That's what caused Christopher Herlo and Steve Gottschalk to get around Ricky Howell. They took their first stop on this green flag run a lot later than Ricky Howell did, but now that this run has gone toward our second cycle, now they're on the fresher tires, and that's what allowed them to get ahead. And it seems now that they're going to play nice and just run together and try to keep as much of a gap and keep as fast as possible, which definitely benefits both of them. If I was the 91, I'd just be contented sitting behind the 87, because if he does make that move, it slows them down a bit, and it really just hurts both of them. It's not something he'd want to do at this point.
And I hope for everybody tuning in with us, you have your pad of paper out and your strategy, because again, it's busy out there on the racetrack. Yeah, no kidding. We got 7 trucks still on the lead lap at this moment. Again, drivers 1 lap down. There are a couple of those names that I suspect are going to end up finishing this race 1 lap down. We could finish this race with 7 trucks on the lead lap. That's probably going to go down to like 6 or 5. But who knows? The way this strategy works out, we could have 11 trucks end up on a lead lap at the very end of this thing. It depends, again, on if they can hit their numbers. Gottschalk looked on the inside of Herlo, wasn't able to make that move. And as we watch that, again, Ricky Howell Jr. has been on pit road. The 2 machine gave up that number 3 position, but he came in. Right now, we're 1 lap shy of the 55-lap quota. Not sure if when we saw that truck go 55 laps earlier, if that was everything it had, but I would assume that means that Howell Jr. is still going to come down pit road at least 1 more time. But he's a lap behind Cody Gibson, and I assume Cody Gibson also himself is going to come down pit road 1 more time.
It might have been a miscalculation on his part, or it might have been a lack of information for us, but we'll have to see how that plays out. Hopefully he did his math, because if he's got to pit 1 more time, the way he's done this run, it might not work out too well for him. I mean, he's still ahead of Jamie Walker, which means he is in a pretty decent position, but I don't know, Cody Gibson was the person he was really racing with earlier, and we'll have to see. We have to sit here and wonder for so long of how these things are going to work, but when you really just want to see if it pays off right away, so it's a bit trying for to watch this race.
I think people want immediate results too, which is, I think, applies to tonight and then also applies to the season. 20 laps, we were talking about the chase format earlier on in the night, is a fair amount of time, absolutely. to go over the course of the season. You got, again, the top 12 is the magic number into tonight if you want to make the championship. 12th position before the night started was Paul Madison. He's running 5th right now. He was running into tonight with what was a 13-point advantage over Brian Harvey. Brian Harvey, I did not believe, took the green flag here tonight, so I don't think it's going to be a concern. Brian cuts too far down the line. So no real late race drama here. I don't think that's going to occur around that cut line. You're going to see all the big names: Walker, Mall, Matthews, Scott, Shock, Simley easily in the top 5. Bennett, Hurlow, Gibson, Howell, and Butt the top 10, and at Ashton Crowder and Paul Madison. Drivers in, though, at 50 laps to go. This is inside of the fuel window. Hurlow, Gottschalk, Gibson, Ron, they all come down pit road. Paul Madison might just assume the race lead if he doesn't come in this time around, and he'll stay out. Is this the final time they're in, though? 50 laps to go.
So we talked about a few times Christopher Hurlow taking that different pit strategy to Gibson. Now they're pitting at the exact same time, but Hurlow had that advantage. Now he's going to be on the same tires. I think they are going to go to the end here. So it's definitely, it seems like the pit strategy might pay off for Hurlow. It's we'll have to see at the end here. If they are going to go green, I wouldn't expect them to pit unless we got another caution coming out.
50 laps to go, 3/4 distance complete now for the Iowa Speedway. Issues with the number 80 machinist, Scott Formosa. He spins on the apron. One more time around. Caution will not come out. Everybody held their breath collectively there. The Bojangles machine, he's the one that had the self-spin earlier in this race. Kelly had a turn 4, and then another self-spin immediately after in turn 2. Split it out onto the racing surface. It was just above the yellow line. No caution, though. Oh, now the 70 machine. Caution, there it is. Jamie Walker's around. And that changes everything.
It's gone out the window. I don't know who's going to come down pit road and who isn't. I'm going to have to sit here and just watch this pace car go around and just wait to see at pit entrance who's going to go down. But everything has just been changed by this caution flag.
So a whole bunch of issues in turn number 4, and J.B. Walker, who has been a little bit off on the night, sideways in the corner, just lost it coming off of that 4th turn, trying to hang on to it. That spin, taking a look on board, I mean, if not absolutely 95% identical. We had just seen a lap early. And now we throw what we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes out the window. And whatever strategy you had in mind to get to lap number 200 doesn't matter. Whatever strategy accidentally got you where you are now at lap 150, maybe the one that wins you the race. Guys like Ashton Crowder, who has been a competitor all night long, his 10th position, going to have to get the way by Michael Waiters and Jamie Walker. Walker, obviously the cause of the caution. Going to be a couple of the names off the lead lap. Jeff Ryan as well.
And look who our leader is now, Christopher Hurlow. So it seems like what he called earlier in this race has paid off for him. He's now sitting in the front. However, he's got some fast trucks behind him. Just two spots behind him, Ricky Howell Jr. will be sitting there, and he's shown a few times in this race tonight that he is that faster truck. And we've seen a few people just faint that going down pit road there. So we'll have to see how everything forms up on once they cross the line. For those that aren't familiar with iRacing, the positions are not updated until the trucks cross the line. So we have to kind of go off of what we see and try to keep track of everything. It gets a little hectic sometimes.
We will reset and come back for a 50-lap race at Iowa, because everything that happened up until this point, unless you're behind the fence, really doesn't matter. We step aside. We'll be back in a moment. A caution flag after 100 laps of green flag action as Christopher Hurlow in front of the USR. Last chance for the Chase 200. Back in a moment right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. We're back live from the Iowa Speedway, as this is a brand new USR Chase, last chance for the Chase 200. We get set to go back under green flag racing conditions for the first race start in over 100 laps, and it will take it with just 43 laps to go. The reset button has been hit as one more checkered flag hangs in the balance before we begin the 2016 Chase for the Championship beginning next week here on LSRTV. Christopher Hurlow, Steve Gottschalk, Paul Madison, Michael Atkins Jr., Ricky Howell, Greg Mall, and Tommy Ryan take the green flag back underway from Iowa.
And we're already 3 wide as the number 2 goes flying into turn number 1. He is determined to get back over that front position. However, he is washed out in turn number 3, and the 18 of Michael Atkins Jr. is now on the inside of him. However, that outside line is the preferred line that these drivers have been taking throughout the field. Now there's a 3 wide again with the 6, and now we've got a truck up in the wall. These guys are all over the place. Now the 2's in the wall. Everyone's pushing as hard as they can off this restart to get the position that they want.
Yeah, we've seen somebody catch the fence there going down to turn number 3 a couple of times, and if there's one racetrack you don't expect to see that at, it's here at Iowa, because it's sometimes difficult to notice as we go 3 wide again in a battle for second behind Hurlow, as Howell gonna get 2 spots in turn 1, and he will keep them off the corner. Nice move by the number 2 Toyota, is that this racetrack was built specifically with the safer barrier in mind, and it is scanned exactly as so on the iRacing service. There is no concrete barrier behind that safer barrier, so the wall is smooth all the way around, and as Howell goes to the inside for the race lead, at most tracks, when they add the safer barrier on top of the outside fence, it jets out outside of the corner and into the corner, and that's why sometimes we see tight racing up against the fence down the back. When the safer barrier begins in turn 3, it sticks out and people will hit it. That's not the case here tonight. I think it just shows you that Ricky Howell Jr. was trying to get every single inch he could, and he will get back to the lead. What an efficient 3 laps to put that 2 back on top.
Yeah, he's been very strong all night, so I'm not too surprised that he's made his way up here. But now Christopher Hurlow is going to have to drive like mad to be able to hold on to a decent finishing position, as Michael Atkins Jr. now diving to the inside of turn number 3 and 4. He's now side by side for P2. Christopher Hurlow with a bit of a run through that that straightaway, but the 18 has that preferred line, and he's going to make it count. Now clearing the 87 to take over P2.
Trying to close in. The 18 of Michael Atkins Jr. has had kind of a rough night and kind of a quiet night up until this point, but again, in the right position at the right time. Now with 37 laps to go, has a truck length and a half to make up, and he could be in front of the field. Howell's not going to give it up easily, but the 4C Print Shop Chevrolet trying to make it happen.
Oh, we see a truck getting no caution because they are not on the racing surface, so we are going to stay green, but looks like it's just going to be some bad luck for those 2 trucks, as Mall and Steve Gottschalk and Greg Mall have both just lost a ton of ground going around, and I'm sure they would have hoped to see that yellow flag fly, but we are still green, and Michael Atkins
check up for the sideways number 91, so while they were related, they didn't actually make contact with each other until they bounced off of the inside fence. Nonetheless, that basically takes them out of contention for the checkered flag. Cody Gibson, remember the 7, who I said, well, I wasn't a big fan of the number. I think it was going to ultimately be the right one. He's a lap down in 8th position. He wants a caution. Ashton Crowder needs to get around him so he can be the lucky dog, and then he wants a caution. If those guys get back to the lead lap, they very much close enough to the front to be able to do something, especially considering how fast we saw Howell and then at position to take over the race lead in this one. But if that's going to happen, they can Atkins steal this one?
I'm sure the 7 and the 27 were both very excited when they saw those guys spinning to the inside, but unfortunately that did not bring out the yellow for them, so they're still just holding their breath, waiting for someone else to make a mistake. But the 18 is your leader with the 2 of Ricky Howell Jr. just still not quite able to catch him anymore. Michael Atkins Jr. just out of nowhere bringing the speed. I mean, he was 8th in practice and qualified 10th, but now he's running extremely fast, holding off someone who has been quick all night. And it's surprising to see where this speed came from.
All about being in the right spot at the right time, talking about laps led and the fuel strategy. But again, it really doesn't matter what you did in those opening 150 laps, and maybe a little bit of luck doesn't hurt to end up again with all that was going on. I'd say you had a 50-50 shot of being on the lead lap or not. Caution flag will fly though, and it is the number 80 of Scott Formosa. Third time's the charm off the turn 4, sideways again. Tried to hang on this time, though it came back up above the yellow line. The yellow flag is out, and that brings Gibson back into the picture at 30 laps to go.
I'm sure this is a night that Scott Formosa just wants to forget. He has not been having any luck with that turn number 4. He's been loose off of it all the time, and it's he hasn't brought out this is the first time he's brought out the caution because of it, but he's spun there multiple times, and we've seen him get sideways through there quite a few times. So it's definitely not the best night for him. He's still running in a decent position. He's still scored his 6th place, but I don't think he's too happy down there.
Now we expect leaders to come down pit road. Does anybody dare take maybe a 2-tire call? Atkinson, Howell, and Hurlow, Ron, and Madison, all the race leaders are in for service.
I'm not going to be too surprised if someone does attempt the 2-tire stop. I'm thinking Ricky Howell Jr. might try for a 2-tire stop. We saw him do it earlier, and he still ran some pretty decent laps, so he should know how well he does on two tires. So I'm going to be watching him now. I've got my eyes on him as he comes down into his pit box now. We'll definitely see that right side pop up, but we're going to have to wait and see if that left side will pop up.
Right side's going to go up first. It looks like everybody wants to go with 4. The number 18 Chevrolet race off of pit road. Howell's going to beat him to the line. Yes, the number 2 who entered pit road behind Atkins will get back in front of him and make the pass on pit road to go back to the race lead.
Who needs a 2-tire stop anyways when you can when you have a pit crew like that? That was a great stop by Ricky Howell Jr. And for those who aren't familiar with iRacing that are watching this race right now, your pit time is determined by how you pull into the box. If your truck is crooked, your pit crew is going to be a bit slower. So you have to be dead center in your box, get as fast as possible. And it also depends on how you go down pit road. I mean, if you aren't as hard on the throttle, if you aren't right on that speed limit, of course you're going to lose a bit of time. So Ricky Howell Jr. was pretty much perfect on that stop. He was behind the 18, but now he's leading this race off after that pit stop.
The number 7 of Cody Gibson back to the lead lap, down pit road this time with service. And Cody Gibson, as I mentioned, is now going to be a factor. Drivers who will pit service, and by doing so, they'll stay out on the racetrack and wait by also go back to the lead lap. Michael Waiters in 10th and Ashton Crowder in the number 9 position. With Crowder specifically, was fast early, got back in the pack, and he and Walker did not really get through the field as quickly as you would have hoped. And tonight, good night for Jamie Walker to have a big points advantage. Good thing for him, he was not on the cut line. Had another fast truck, started on pole, 9th pole on the season, but behind the fence and out of this one, going to come home with a 13th place result. So Crowder, Waiters, going to go back to the lead lap. 9 and 10 will have 10 trucks on the lead lap. Those two want another quick caution, so then they can come down and get tires, because right now they're still running with 20-lap old tires in order to get the way by Gibson. Big difference was he was a lucky dog, so not only does he get the lead lap back, but he also gets tires. Let's see if he has anything for him.
And he's sitting in 8th place, so he does still have quite a ways to go, but as we've seen from Ricky Howell Jr., if you're a bit brave and and you have a bit of skill, you might be able to throw your truck down into turn number 1 and get a few people right off the bat there. So I'm sure we're going to see Cody Gibson throw out all the stops and just go wild on this next restart, because who knows, there's a chance this might be our last restart.
We get set to see, we're going to be inside of the final 25 laps, I believe, when the pace car ducks down and away. We'll get a good look to see where we sit this time. Bylights on top of the pace car go out. So Crowder going to be waved by to maintain his lead lap status. Michael Waiters to the lead lap as well. Jeff Ron will go from 4 laps down to 3 laps down and wave around as well. And that will set it up. We'll put 175 laps behind us this time Take 25 laps to go. This could very well just be, though, a two-truck duel between Howell and Atkins. Howell took over the race lead on that last run. Atkins stole it back from him, and Howell regains the position on pit road. You know he's going to have to make that number 2 machine very wide to defend.
He has been quick all night, on that last run, so it's going to be interesting to see how this end of this race develops.
Could it be for the final time tonight that the pace car is going to duck down and away? Howell wants to get off and away, as he is the control truck. He'll hesitate no time at all. American Ethanol, green flag back in the air. 25 laps to go from Iowa, and the battle is behind for second.
Herlo has that better line through turn number 1. He has the inside, but the 18 will have a bit more time to get his speed up. Herlo washes out, and the 6 now will dive the inside. We see people going all over the place. The 7 now diving down underneath the 80, and he's going to gain a few spots. We'll have to see. He's definitely wanting to get back up to the front. He ran strong earlier this race. He wants to have a good finish to the
at a turn 2, was going to make a charge to the outside, got out of shape. Paul Madison throws it to the inside, tries to steal 4th position, can't make it stick.
As we now watch the 60, he has definitely lost a lot of speed. Paul Madison is dropping back, and Cody Gibson is now going to look. He's sitting now in 6th, trying for 5th. He's getting himself back into that top 5, but I'm sure he wouldn't mind a caution. But as we look back to the front of the field, Ricky Howell is now having to defend against Michael Atkins Jr. Michael Atkins Jr. looked to the inside, couldn't quite make it happen through turn number 3 and 4. Ricky Howell will get a better run off of that corner.
That is the expect somebody to have the advantage at most tracks. And again, there's not a whole lot of banking in Iowa, but you can wind it up a little bit on that top side of the racetrack and to make it stick. Here he goes to the inside, though Atkins may be just a little bit faster when it matters. Can't get the positioning that time, but he's all over him at 21 to go.
Yeah, 7 back in the field, Cody Gibson has ran into some trouble, I think, with Paul Madison. He's dropped another couple spots, but he's getting right back into it. However, the story now is definitely at the front of the field. Tommy Ryan also side by side with the 87 of Christopher Herlo. A lot of people are jockeying for position. This race may be 20 laps, but we're only doing 23 seconds per lap, so there is not a lot of time on the clock.
Going to wind down very quickly inside of, if we stay green, maybe 8 minutes left.
Trouble.
Green flag action issues behind. Herlo got tight a couple of laps ago. This time it's going to send him around. Caution flag flies. 181 laps in. Handle on it.
Yeah, this track may not be that banked, but not something you want to do here. You can't drop those tires below the yellow. It will spin you around just as demonstrated by the 87 of Christopher Herlo. So he was up fighting for 3rd, and now he's going to be all the way back there. I think he's now sitting in 10th, but we're going to get everyone restacked again, and it's if we thought that last restart was crazy, I think this one's going to be even more so.
And you have to anticipate when you get late in these races, staying green for 25 laps consecutively. Man, I have a look at the move by Howell, stayed out all the way and ducks down to pit road. Everybody else going to come down with him, and you want to talk about flipping the script. Normally it's the race leader who's the one who's a sitting duck, and he just duked the 18 of Atkins, who's the only driver to stay out and will have a tire disadvantage for the restart.
Wow, that was quite the little bit of head games. I can't believe he made the truck move like that. It seemed like he was on rails. He just threw that thing down in the pit lane, and I don't think Atkins Jr. even had time to think about what was happening. The 7 is electing to take 2 tires, so that's going to drop Ricky Howell Jr. down into 4th, I believe. So everything is going just completely crazy in these dying laps of this race.
You're going to have a driver on old tires and your 4 tires, just to make sure we're clear where everybody sits at the moment. You take a second look, and again, we always say as your race leader, if the race leader stays out, everybody else can pit. If your race leader pits, everybody else can stay out. Well, flipping the script on that one, a beautiful move onto the pit lane by Howell. Doesn't win better tires than the 2 guys in front of him, but again, does lose some time with the fact that 2 drivers took 2 tires.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how things develop. I mean, it wasn't that long of a run, so I don't know if it'll make that much of a difference, but we saw earlier in the race it did kind of make a difference. But there's not too many laps left, so you don't have much time if you do have an advantage to take advantage of that advantage. I'm getting all mixed up with my words here, but the
keyword is advantages. Everybody thinks they have the advantage.
So it's going to be interesting to see how things shape up. I think everyone's going to be going crazy on this restart. I mean, we saw Ricky Howell Jr. what he can pull going into turn number 1 off these green flag starts, but I think he's going to be diving down to that inside line as soon as he can and pull what he did, I think not the last restart, but the restart before that when he was down on the inside of that truck before even the start-finish line. So,
and as we said the last couple of times, we were in cautions. I would be wary to put money on any sort of a bet that this will be the final time that we doubled them up 2 by 2 by 2 and drop the green flag in front of them and see how it shakes out. We'll see if it goes out this time by. Going to be a 14 lap to go restart because we'll collect 15 laps to go this time around. Do obviously have to note that a caution is over at that point. Each caution flag cycle takes off approximately 4 to 5 laps. So maybe another restart, if not 2 maximum, if you get quick and very short stints. Atkins, though, again, just as Howell did the last time to him, needs to get out and get going. The 18 on the front row, old tires. Ryan to the outside of the front row in second. Gibson to the inside of row number 2 and third of the drivers on 2 tires. And Howell spearheads the 4-tire charge from 4th position on back.
Yeah, and we'll have to see what these guys can do. Cody Gibson and Ricky Howell Jr. both ran up front for quite a long time early on in this race, so they're definitely going to be the 2 to watch, but they're going to be held up a bit by Tommy Ryan, who's trying to fight his way into the chase, I believe. I believe he's sitting just a few points back, and he's going to try to get as many points as possible here to maybe pass some of those guys that are sitting at the back of that chase grid, but
we're going to find out. There's 10 drivers on the lead lap. We're 2 by 2, 5 rows deep. Michael Atkins Jr. going to bring us back to the green flag. 14 to go. A great jump for the outside for Tommy Ron. The 18 slides up in front. Single file, 1, 2, and 3. Gibson now wants that 3rd spot. Tight, and he can't get it. He'll sit back and forth. There goes Howell, though. He overdrove it and hard into the inside fence.
we'll see another one. Scott Formosa has gone into the wall and spun back onto the track, so he will bring out the caution. And there we go. As you said, we might get 2 restarts from if they come out rapid fire like this. But unfortunate for that 2 truck. He was running really strong throughout the night and just pushed a little too hard.
And the praise for the move that we saw out of the 2 of Ricky Howell Jr., who was, again, running as the race leader and made the aggressive dunk down pit road, almost wanted it too much, and spun it out coming off of turn number 2. His night is now done. Atkins going to bridge us inside of the final 10 laps as the top car. We'll take this opportunity as we get set for, again, what could be the final restart on tonight. Inside of 10 laps to go when we return from the Iowa Speedway. Michael Atkins Jr. trying to hang on and collect the checkered flag here tonight from the Hawkeye State. You're watching a 2016 United Sim Racing Truck Series presented by B&C Lawn and Landscaping Services. We'll throw the checker when we return.
once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Relying on keen senses, lions search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good, be a lion.
That last time by the start-finish line, the pace car collects lap number 192. We get set to go back green flag racing with 8 laps to go. Guaranteed to take the checker under green flag conditions or a caution flag ends. And Michael Atkins Jr. doesn't care how it happens. He just wants to get the checkered flag and get this one over with. We were green flag for over 100 laps. Saw a caution flag about 42 laps to go now. And have seen on and off like we saw earlier on, as these guys will not give an inch in a battle with the checkered flag. Atkins still out front, who stayed out after the last time pit road was open. Tommy Ryan in the number 2 position as well. Cody Gibson back in 3rd. Pace car down and away. Green flag back in the air. 8 laps to go from Iowa. And your race leader leaves the side-by-side battle for second behind him as he tries to run away.
Cody Gibson did not give any room to the 15 of Paul Madison, who was trying to find a different entrance. But obviously the 27, who was a non-factor earlier, just a few laps ago, but now he's definitely a big factor now. He was a big factor early on in this race. He's made his way back up to the front, now holding on to that 4th position, but he's fighting for with the 15 of the Paul Madison. Off that corner, now Cody Gibson to the inside. Maybe just looking, can't quite get his nose in, but the 6 now running wide, losing a bit of speed. You want to run high on that corner, but not quite that high.
Squeezes him up against the fence, 6 laps to go. Atkins pulls another 1/10 of a second. Gibson needs to get clear if he wants to take a run at the race win, and the 6 truck won't let him do it.
No, I'm sure Michael Atkins Jr. is happy to see that fight behind him, but Tommy Ryan will now drop behind Cody Gibson. He'll kind of toss him. He'll give him a shot to the back, and they're into the wall. Tommy Ryan has just slammed a few of them into the wall, but Paul Madison says thank you very much. Oh, we got Crowder sideways. We got tons of trucks sideways. The 12 is also sideways. Crowder's now spun it, hits the 2, and that's going to bring out a caution, I believe. No, it's still green.
Somehow still green. Crowder's in the fence. Ryan's in the fence. We got the number 55 of Waiters all over the racetrack, and somehow we're still green. The 7 made a move. He got put in the fence for it, and he lost 3/10 the last time by, I think, 9/10 of a second back might be too much to overcome. Paul Madison looks to challenge for P2 as Michael Atkins Jr. runs off into the sunset.
Michael Atkins Jr. probably would have taken that caution, but he will also take that wreck, which checked up a lot of trucks and gave him a big gap. But Cody Gibson took a big chunk out of that gap, 2/10. But every 3 laps, he will get right on top of him, but I don't know if he will get around him. He still seems to be quietly and slowly making his way back up, but I don't know if it'll be enough. He's going to have to drive the laps of his life to be able to make this race, take this race win.
2 laps to go. He closed it in again. He has a damaged Aces Chevrolet, but he's not going to give it up. Penultimate time, but at turn number 2, he tries to close the gap in. He's going to have to maybe go with a Hail Mary move to get the job done. Higher in 3 and 4. He tries to wind up the speed at a turn number 4. Closes in again. He's got a shot at him from 4/10 of a second down to 3. White flag in the air from Iowa to the bumper in turn number 2. Atkins protects the bottom, but Cody Gibson has got to the back bumper. Do they make contact in 3? Which lane does he choose? He'll go to the outside, side by side, but he overdrives it, and Atkins one last time off the corner, hangs on and wins it from Iowa.
And we got 3 wide across the line for 3rd place, but Paul Madison will hold on to your 3rd place with Christopher Herlo and Tommy Ryan just flanking him across that line. That was an absolutely amazing finish.
Gibson had a chance, and he either was going to go to the bumper or try to go to the outside, and I'm not sure if he tried to do both at the same time, but he drove it in hard, went to the outside of the racetrack, and the 18 blocked the bottom, which again, the 18 on the inside, not necessarily the preferred lane. but even if the 7 has a run, you just had to get a nose in front. Atkins didn't panic under the pressure. He made the right move, and he almost forced Cody Gibson into a mistake. Not that I think you can fault the Aces entry at all, because I didn't even think Cody Gibson was going to make up those 9/10 of a second in those final 3 laps. But Michael Atkins Jr. maybe lucked himself into a position up near the front at 50 laps to go, but he was battle tested on at least 6-7 restarts late in this race. Cody Gibson got to the back of him, wasn't enough, and the 18 machine celebrates a well-deserved win.
Yeah, definitely a very well-deserved win. He had Cody Gibson, who has been fast all night, right on his tail, but Michael Atkins Jr. did not crack under pressure. Kept running good laps. Even when Cody Gibson got right back onto his bumper, he didn't make any mistakes and didn't give Gibson a easy run. So he played it smart in the end there, and definitely deserved to take his truck to victory lane.
He celebrates, and we will try to catch up with them and get some post-race reaction. A long and wild night from the Iowa Speedway ends up with Michael Atkins Jr. on top. We'll chat with the top finishers and talk about the chase grid. 20 races now down, the regular season behind us, and the main event comes upon us next Saturday night as we get set to go chase racing for the next 10 weeks here on LSRTV and iRacing Iowa. We step aside, post-race still to come. You're watching the 2016 United Sim Racing Truck Series on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Since 2010, the highest echelon of sim racing competition has focused on NASCAR and Grand Prix racing. 50 of the best drivers in the world doing battle for championship glory. Each man for himself, and even though there may be teammates on track, each driver is in command of his own destiny. Until now. 2016 sees the start of a new era in World Championship competition, with team racing getting its chance in the spotlight. No longer can one driver rule supreme, but you must rely on those with whom you share a car, a setup, a strategy. Endurance racing can be very different to other forms of motorsports, with races in this series lasting either 3 or 6 hours. Teams of 2 or 3 drivers, perhaps on opposite sides, work towards one common goal. Crash out, and it's not just you who you let down. Officially sanctioned by SRO, it will be teams of drivers who will go car to car, and there's over $25,000 in cash and prizes up for grabs. Some of the world's biggest sim racing teams are represented. There's also a group of teams who haven't seen this stage before, who want to make their mark and say we can hang with the best. The team racing revolution is here. It's loud, it's exciting, and it lives on iRacing Live, starting April 23rd.
Back live from Newton, Iowa, after a long and grueling USR. Last chance for the Chase 200. Looked like it was going to go green for the better part of the last 150 laps. A late race yellow completely changed how this race would end, and it also quite shuffled up the running order. Let's take a look at tonight's full race results presented by BNC Lawn and Landscaping. BNC Lawn and Landscaping Services LLC, based in Frankfort, Delaware. Check out BNC for all your landscaping needs, including turf care, mulching, snow removal, and more. professional, licensed, and insured. Contact Aaron Bennett at bc_lawn_land_landscaping at yahoo.com as well for more information. Title sponsor of the USR Truck Series on LSRTV. He started 10th. He's awaiting us at Victory Lane. Michael Atkins Jr. gets the job done here tonight. Cody Gibson going to come home second with Paul Madison third. They are standing by in just a moment. Christopher Hurlow comes home at a number 4 position tonight. Tommy Ron rounds out your top 5. Greg Mall in the number 6 spot. 7th for Ricky Howell Jr. And then Michael Waiters in 8th. And 9th, Ashton Crowder round out your lead lap trucks.
Finishing in 10th, 1 lap down, is the 88 of Jeff Ryan. The rest of these trucks did not finish. Scott Formosa, 14 laps down in 11th place. Steve Gottschalk, 37 laps down in 12th. Jamie Walker, who ran a very strong race. However, since he did hold on to such a large points lead, decided to park it after getting some not an optimal race, and he'll finish in 13th, 50 laps down. James Thorndike will be 14th, 94 laps down. And Aaron Bennett, running into technical issues early on in the race, finishes 15th, 132 laps down.
That's a look at tonight's BNC Lawn and Landscaping full race results around number 20 at the Iowa Speedway. The driver that ends up on top of the pile when it's all said and done is Michael Atkins Jr. collecting the checkered flag tonight. Michael, congratulations. We went green from about lap 50 to 150, and it looked like we were going to go green maybe to the end of this race. At that point, this race completely changed, though. The pit strategy calls went from fuel-based to tire-based, and you were a lot of the time playing defense up there, getting around a machine, and we saw Cody Gibson at times change that with you on pit road. We also saw strategy calls called Jr. Almost abandoning you out there on the racetrack late. What was those final 50 laps like? And in those final 3, man, Cody Gibson came from 9/10 back to the back bumper in turn 3. You just had enough to hang on to him.
All I'm going to say is, what a race. I had no intention of thinking I had a shot for a win until the last 50, 100 laps. But now I knew Cody had fresher tires. They all went in, and I had to get a good jump on the start there on that last restart. But, man, I saw him charging, and we went in the final corner. I said, I got to hit the brakes hard in order to make it stick and hopefully hold him off. And he tapped me on the corner, and that's all she wrote for Cody, but no hard feelings with him. I knew he was trying to win the race and everything, but just good, hard, fun racing, all in all.
It was fun to watch and keep track of all the strategy as well over the course of this one. For you guys, qualified in 10th position, and again, talking about where you felt like you guys were before those final 50 laps, once you got yourself the track position late when the caution flag came out, you guys came down pit road and stayed up at front. The truck looked like it was the fastest truck out of anybody all night long. I mean, it didn't look like a 10th place truck at that point. How'd you feel maybe when you got to that point? Did you feel like maybe qualifying in 10th put you guys at a engine? You did have a good truck, or did those guys kind of just force you to push it that much further onto the edge there late?
No, I pretty much ran my strategy. I messed up in qualifying, which put me in 10th, but starting the race, I said, all right, there's a good chance to do as my teammates has told me. They said I use the lead foot too much and get myself in a lot of bad circumstances, so I tried to pace myself, wait for the track to rubber in and loosen up and come to me. But I wasn't expecting the last 75 laps for me just to keep gaining ground and strategy to play out in my favor like that. It was just unsurreal.
Well, the caution flag and all of that put you in a position to be able to win this race, and then when it was all said and done, you take advantage of the opportunity late and you hang on to get the win here at the Iowa Speedway. Michael, before we let you go, anybody you want to thank down here from Victory Lane?
Most definitely want to thank Paul Madison, Mark Wilson, Steve Herron, who left the league, but still pretty much we treat him like family on the MTM team here, and just basically everybody on the team, they all know who they are, and I thank them for the confident words and giving me encouragement on what to improve on here at USR Racing League and in general everywhere. So I thank y'all very much, and keep the momentum going from here throughout the chase.
Yes, sir. We still got, we do have the 20 races down. There are still 10 races to go, Michael. Thanks for sticking around and chatting with us. We wish you the best of luck as the season goes on. And hopefully for you guys, you can put this truck back in victory lane. We'll talk with you again soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
The winner tonight for the Iowa Speedway, Michael Atkins Jr. captures the flag at the end, and he wins the USR Last Chance for the Chase 200. Cody Gibson gave it a whale of an effort to come home P2 tonight. Paul Madison also 3 wide to hang on to third. Trackside with both of those drivers as Kelly Dahl first, though, caught up with the driver of the 7.
Yeah, I'm down here with the driver of the number 7, Cody Gibson. Cody, it was quite the wild race there. We had a number of different strategies throughout this entire race, especially during that long green flag run. What was your strategy running through all of that?
Man, I seen Jamie Pitt there, and I said, well, he's opened the door up for... So I just drove the wheels off of it, and I think I drove all the way back up to second, unlapped myself and everything, and honestly, I don't know how it played out, but it played out.
Yeah, it definitely was an exciting finish, though. You had to really fight your way back from the back to get back into that second place. There was a bit of a gap, and there was also almost a wreck that you got caught up in. What was your what? Could you walk us through what happened through all of that last little stretch?
Well, right before that caution came out, I touched, I think it was a 15 truck, and I got an incident point. And with iRacing, when you get an incident point and you're the first lucky dog, it was before the caution, and when the caution came out, I didn't get it, and I believe Tommy got it. And as I could to try to get back up there, and I just had to put myself in bad spots to try to do what I could to stay in front of the other lap cars, and I don't know, I held them off and finally got the lucky dog.
And then you nearly were able to get a win out of that, just a little short, but now your eyes have to turn to the chase. You were able to race your way into it after a really good season. So what's your plan through these next 3 races before the next cutoff?
Well, I think I'm just going to try to stay consistent. I ain't too worried about wins, really. I mean, like the whole season long, wins don't mean nothing to get you into the chase. But I want to try to stay at least top 5, try to stay out of trouble. And if all fails, and try to go for wins.
Very good race tonight. There was a lot of things you had to deal with, over 200 laps. I think second place is something to be really happy with. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for this?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to thank everybody that helped support USR. I mean, we got a pretty good thing going. I know there wasn't a lot of drivers out here tonight. So if anybody listening here, they'd like to join up, just contact me over Facebook, and I'll see what I can do to get you over here and get you a spot driving with us. And, I mean, I like to appreciate what y'all guys do. I mean, y'all put on one heck of a show. I mean, it wouldn't be possible without y'all for other people to view us, so I appreciate it.
All right, well, his name is up on the screen, so if you want to drive with these guys, just type that into Facebook, send him a message, and he'll get you racing. Cody, it was great to talk with you. Hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, well, I'm going to take a bit of a walk down pit road and find where the number 15 is hanging out. The 15 of Paul Madison, able to bring home a 3rd place finish tonight. Paul, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, it was quite an interesting race. Were you expecting us to go over 100 laps green there?
No, but thank goodness it did. I didn't have the quickest MTM 4C Print Shop Chevrolet, but with using fuel strategy and getting a bunch of people lapped down got me back in the fight.
I don't know if we were able to catch it on the screen, but I was definitely watching that last finish. You were 3 wide coming to the line. That everything was hectic for that last stretch. So what was your plan as soon as that green flag dropped for that last restart?
Well, I knew Michael was going to get a good start, and I could kind of see what he was doing. And I was just going to floor it. I was going to lock up my brakes, and I was going to do whatever I can to keep the people behind me. It was great racing with those guys.
Yeah, it was very exciting to watch, and I believe you did finish in the top 12 in points, so that's going to put you into the chase. So how do you feel about your chances going into Chicagoland?
The head of everybody, and I'm just grateful that I'm in the playoffs. I'm looking to move up. I don't want to finish 12th in points. I'd like to take a run at it.
Well, hopefully you do get a good run at it. You had a third place tonight, so that does show that you can get up there in the points. So hopefully you do get up higher than 12. Is anyone you'd like to thank for this good run tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the people at 4C Print Shop, and then, of course, all my teammates at MTM, and Michael Atkins, the winner. He's been pushing me. He's been a good teammate, and I appreciate all that he's been doing to make me faster.
Well, he's definitely all that paid off.
Yep.
Right, I believe I will send it back up to Evan to close out the show for the night.
Yeah, it was a wild night. We had to break out the pad of paper and break down what the strategy was going to be, and just when we started to figure out, caution fine came out, and it looked a lot more like a short track race. Again, Iowa 7/8 of a mile in length. It is very much, I think, Kelly, fair to say, a short track, and that's most definitely what we saw late. If you told me at the start of the race Michael Atkins Jr. would have won it, the numbers that he, again, had in qualifying would have been hard to convince me as such, and even he agreed so. But in the end, it's not like we were at 190 laps into this race, Kelly. He's about to pit, caution comes out, he stays out, just happens to win it. He had to hang on for 50 laps, go head-to-head with all the guys that had led for the better part of the entire night. I think it was a well-deserved win for the 18.
Yeah, it was really surprising, some of the names that were up there. If you were to ask me before this race who I would have picked, I mean, looking at the stats and laps and all that, I was going to say, Jamie Walker, Aaron Bennett, Ricky Howell Jr., but all of them ran into some trouble, and Michael Atkins Jr. just pulled out some late race speed and was really able to, as you said, he earned that finish. He didn't luck his way into it. He fought his way out and fought off Cody Gibson and had some great restarts to get that win. So it was definitely an exciting race to watch. It was so many different strategies, so much different excitement, and it showed people why I do love Iowa Speedway.
It's a fun track, and it's always fun to bring the trucks out on Saturday nights, and we are 2/3 of the way through now our coverage of this 2016 United Sim Racing Truck Series presented by BNC Lawn and Landscape, and also a big shout out to Simulation Solutions and 4C Print Shops for being presenting sponsors over the course of the year. With that, the regular season is complete, and it gets fun next time on LSRTV at iRacing Live, because we go championship racing for the opening round of the 2016 Chase next Saturday night, right back here on LSRTV. You can find an entire broadcast lineup on our website at www.livesimracing.com. Also, give us a like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/livesimracingtv for all the latest updates in and around the sim racing community, and also when you can find us back here on the iRacing Live portal. But until next time, Iowa falls to the rearview mirror, and we look forward to the opening round of the Chase from Chicago. On behalf of the entire team at LSRTV LLC, and for everybody behind the scenes, for myself, Evan Pasoka, for Kelly Dahl, and our producer, Cisco Scarlusa, as well, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and congratulate Michael Atkins Jr. on the win tonight from Iowa. The gloves are off, though. We get back down to business next Saturday night. We'll see you as we go racing in the 2016 Chase for the Championship, the battle through Homestead, exclusively here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. Until then, good night.
Copyrighted is presented presented under the authority of LSRTV LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations and may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form, nor the accounts and descriptions of this event disseminated in any way without the express written permission of Live Sim Racing TV. LSRTV would like to thank its loyal fans for their continued support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.